Yep, now we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michiels. I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you're glad to be here. We've got all kinds of good things lined up. Ron Toran is with us tonight. Cue the clapter, the laughter. We have all kinds of good stuff going on. We're excited about that. Ron Toran is a champ of people, one of the nicest guys in the industry. I've talked to him. He's been on the show before. He's got a wealth of knowledge and is a very respectable person in the community. He was a second grade teacher for 25 years. He's got some neat stories and a background. He was telling me before the show that at one point in 3 different presidential elections, he got write-ins on the ballot. People love him that much. And he also, at one point, received a thank you letter from Coretta Scott King, who's Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife, and pretty wild, just an adventurous type of guy. He's not afraid to take on some big tasks. He started a school, paramotoring school, and we're going to pick his brain a little bit tonight. So appreciate you being a part of the show. You're also joined by Sean Nafsker. Nick is with us in a bunker in an undisclosed area. So is Craig Taylor. He'll be moderating. And then Jared's also with us. Jared is, he's a part of the, he's the one that gave away the seed pack last week. He's got another pack that he's going to give away tonight. That's what we're going to spin the wheel for. So I'm glad that he's here. And so I really appreciate Jared. Thank you for making it on. And we're going to, we'll have a great show tonight. I do want to do my order of business. The show is brought to you by PPG Smoke, ppgsmoke.com. Ryan Roberts. Show is also brought to you by paramotorprops.com. Go check out Paramotor Props if you want to get a good deal on some props. And this show is also brought to you by the guys from flymyppg.com in the Michigan area. Go check them out. They got a great organization over there. We'll talk more about the sponsorship. If you want to support the show financially, you can do that on Patreon or PayPal. There's links in the description. Go check that out. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, why not? Just do it. You subscribe to a bunch of other weird stuff. Why don't you subscribe to something that has to do with flying? That's my pitch. So glad that you're here. Ron, I want to ask you, sorry, here, I muted you because I was getting some feedback.
That's all right.
So you've been flying for 7 years. Let me ask this, and some people don't know your background. What was it that, or should I say, who convinced you to fly? Did you see a video? Did you see somebody flying around the park, or what was it? How did you get into the sport? And take us through the beginning.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me here. Really appreciate it, all of you guys. So for me, it was a midlife crisis. I turned 50. I got divorced, and all of a sudden I didn't have a wife telling me I couldn't anymore. So started doing some research. And at the time, there was only a couple of guys who were putting videos out there. One of them was Dell, and the other was Kurt Pfister. So did as much research as I could, watched as many videos as I could, and then I signed up for training with Kurt.
And what did you think at that time? I mean, 7 years ago, there was a few people posting videos on YouTube. Did you get any inspiration from those videos?
Yeah, and actually, the very first video I saw was a Dell video of him flying out of a congested neighborhood. But I saw that, and he took a motor out of the back of his pickup truck and flew around and landed on a street. And I thought, hey, that looks cool, and let me go ahead and find out as much as I can about it. So that was one video. Yeah, you have that. And 7 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot out there. Eric the Aviator was just putting out some videos, and as I said, the other 2 guys were around as well.
What do you think about what was it that at what point did you decide, you know what, I want to be an instructor? I want to teach paramotoring.
Yeah, I've been a second grade teacher for 25 years, and I I think I was born to be a teacher, really, and wasn't any doubt in my mind that after I retired, I would get into teaching in some way or another. And um, a couple of years before I retired, I really just became passionate about the sport and decided to um, finally go ahead and pursue it full time. So yeah, it's been awesome ever since.
Now you've got a pretty awesome school, and I appreciate your sponsorship. If you guys don't know, he runs Lone Star Paramotor, and so they have a school there in Texas. And I've heard nothing but raving reviews about your school and your teaching methods and how everything flows together when you sign up for your program. And I think it's awesome, and I'm excited to have you on for that very reason. I don't typically want to have um, hacks on the show, if you will. I use that term in the industry. Um, we can learn something from anyone, but I'm glad that you're here. Want to talk a little bit about what you've seen in the teaching world, and what you have brought to the table that you saw in others that you said, and I'm not trying to create a bashing session, but
Hmm.
if you can, in a roundabout way, fill in the gaps of why people should come to your school.
Yeah, so I took for years when I was teaching elementary school. It's kind of a doctor's approach. It's a diagnostic and prescriptive approach to education. So you've got guys in front of you, boys and girls, and now they're just taller boys and girls. Um, but they all learn in different ways, and you've got to get down to their learning styles and what makes them successful, make them a successful learner. So there's there's motivational theory that's involved in it as well. It's really getting to know each of the students in the paramotor class as well as you can. We'll have a class of six guys. We're really holding six individual classes of one student each, and we've got to tailor the instruction um, to each of the students and their best learning style.
What do you what would you say is the most common mistakes that these guys are coming in and repeating, or stuff that is dangerous that you're seeing that you're having to teach with a certain force to say, listen, you really need to get this right?
Yeah, takeoffs and landings are the two challenging parts for the most challenging parts for new flyers, and some things that we consistently see is failure to go to throttle. You're asking instructors asking for some throttle or for some power just to taxi, and typically new students are very reluctant to hold power. They'll hold it for a second and let go, and hold it and let go. So throttle management is one of the big issues with brand new students, but also body position. Before you go to full throttle, if you're not standing upright or if you're not leaning back, you could drive yourself into the ground. And I see a lot of poor body position and poor posture from new pilots.
What talk about that a little bit? What do you mean by bad posture?
Yeah. So let's say we're doing a forward launch, and we bring the wing up. We're basically running away, and you're bringing it up by lowering your chest down, so you're leaning over. As the wing comes up over your head, you're still leaning forward, and if you continue to run that way and apply throttle and full throttle, you won't be able to stand up against the throttle, and you'll be leaning over, pitched over forward as you're trying to take off.
Ooh.
Yeah, in some cases, students can get away with it. In some cases, they can't, and they'll drive themselves into the ground. So it's okay to give some power to taxi around, but before you go to full power, students should either be standing up straight, or even better yet, leaning back so that the thrust helps them off the ground.
Tyler Keelman donated $5 to the super chat. Thank you, Tyler Keelman. I appreciate it, man. When you have you trained any guys, any free flight guys?
Guys who are just free flyers?
Yeah.
Um, no, I trained one woman who was a free flyer.
Okay.
And had some challenges doing that, particularly in posture.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
She wanted to torpedo into every launch, and I had to get her to, we did a lot of work just taxiing around with the motor on, but without a wing over her head, just getting her in the right body position to launch.
You feel like you're I some people call it the torpedo. I prefer the term spear. I'm ready to spear.
Yeah.
It's like a wrestling move. When I launch off the hill, I get my posture. I'm putting my head forward, and I'm thinking I'm going to take somebody out. But when you're motoring, it's kind of tiptoe through the tulips and lean back, and it's a funny posture to get used to. Yeah, I don't have a question in that. I just wanted to defend my posture of running with my head first. It's a manly.
I got you.
I want to talk about what things that, and the reason I'm asking some of these questions, and I know that these are not these deep, profound questions. We'll get to the profound questions. Just stay with me. There's a lot of people that come here to watch the show because they want to be safer pilots, and I'm trying to bring that to every single episode. What are you seeing that's the most dangerous? I don't want to call it a habit because these people are typically learning. What's the most common, we'll just say habit, that you're seeing people do over and over again that you wish that they would change?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. New pilots, when they come into land, are typically looking straight down at the ground and don't have very good depth perception. And I'd love to change that. But I think, a lot of pilots get up, they launch themselves, they're in the air, and then they just go and fly. And we go through a series of in-flight safety checks right after we get pilots into their seats. So they make sure that everything they've done on the ground, all their pre-flight checks are correct. Once that's done, they can go and safely fly. So, things like checking their carabiners, checking to make sure their brake lines aren't wrapped around, checking to make sure their A's are facing forward and not twisted, checking the glider lines to make sure that pilots didn't pick up any debris on launch, checking wingtips to make sure they're open and flying and you don't have a cravat. So typically we'll take off, and as soon as the pilots are in the seat, we'll have them go through a safety check like that each time. Once that's completed, they can go and fly safely. So
how much time are you guys spending on the ground, or how much are you teaching ground handling?
Oh, a lot. Whenever we can. You can't kite enough. And one of my disappointments is that when people learn how to fly, when they leave school, they typically don't kite much anymore. They kite just to fly, and that's it. When it's 9 to 12 miles an hour and you may not be wanting to fly, that's a great time to get out there and practice some reverse kiting.
Oh yeah. Reverse kiting is the ticket.
Yeah.
And is that what you're wanting to teach out of the gate? Is that something that you're wanting guys to be able to leave your school?
We've got to teach them to handle all kinds of flying conditions, both inland when there's no wind and when there's strong wind, like at the beach. So if we have a class and we don't have enough wind, we'll typically pick up and we'll move down to the beach. It's a 3.5-hour drive, and we'll spend a day or two down there flying in breezier conditions so that they can learn how to launch and land in both no wind and high wind.
Predator Paramotor asked this question. He said, has Ron ever seen any red flags that made him decide not to train someone?
Absolutely. Yeah. When guys are walking in the door and I'm meeting them for the first time, I'm trying to figure out who they are and I'm trying to read them. But what we're also doing is I'm keeping track of how quickly they respond to instructions. And when you can really see it is when we do towing operations. So we're towing guys into the air, and we had one guy that, I'm asking for him to give pressure, from your ears down to your shoulders, basically to deploy your flaps and take off. And instead of doing this, he kneels down on the ground and just goes tumbling end over end. That's a guy I'm not going to put up in the air yet, because I asked him to pull his hands down and he kneeled down instead. So throughout the training, I'm monitoring how they're responding to instructions and inputs. And we don't let them fly until they can respond within about a second and a half.
I like that. Fly Swamper asked this question. He said, another question or idea. Ground starting is risky, of course. How does he feel about ground starting with the propeller strapped to the cage or frame so it can't rotate?
Yeah, and Jeff Goen did a thing on this a long time ago, and it was, if you've got a clutch and it's attached to the frame, that's an okay way to start it. Would not be my favorable position to start it. And by the way, neither is on my back. I don't want the thing going at full throttle while I'm wearing it either. So for me, the best place to start it is on a carrier on the back of your car. Start it up, warm it up there, and then turn it off, walk it out to the field, and it'll be ready to go. I really don't like it. I know too many people who have personally been burned by ground starting a motor. We had one student was training himself and his wife, and he bought a motor months before training, and it didn't have a clutch on it. He accidentally hand propped it in the garage, and it sliced off most of the top layer of his arm and took a 2x2 chunk out of his skull. It was a year of rehab and therapy, physical therapy, before he and his wife came to train with us.
And that guy still ended up getting training and
yeah. The first time we started a motor up, he ran. He was like, he didn't even realize it, but he was in the next zip code within a few seconds. And each time we started the motor up, he could get a little closer until he could finally start the motor, and then he could put it on and fly. So he and his wife are up in Dallas, and fantastic pilots.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's another question, and I'm taking these from the chat. Normally I wait until we get towards the end, but these are great questions.
Okay.
James Robertson, he asked, he wanted you to talk about your trike training program, if you have any details about that.
Yeah, actually, we have a couple of trike training programs. We do both foot launch classes, which is typically a 10-day class, start to finish. And we also do a 7-day trike class. So we have beginner trike classes that go 7 days, but we also have a 3-day trike transition class for guys that already know how to fly and who already know how to foot launch. So we're offering both of those classes.
What's your go-to on for engines?
These days it's mostly the Moster 185 and the Atom 80 on pick a frame and harness. We train on Parajet equipment. We train on power to fly equipment. We also train on air conception and fly products as well. And we're dealers for all of those motors.
Very good.
Yeah. Personally, I'm about 165 pounds. I fly a Fly Products Eclipse with an Atom 80.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
How often are you getting to fly nowadays?
Now that this whole virus thing hit, actually a little bit more than before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had our April class call in and cancel, postponed till a later date, as I'm sure many people did. So I've been able to fly more than usual. We get over half of our students are coming from out of state. And while that business has dropped off considerably, have just local people dropping in and asking for training. I think desperate to get out of the houses and away from their families for a little bit.
No joke.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention these two sponsors, Nebraska PPG. if you're in the Nebraska area and you're looking for training, you can go check them out. Josh Bowden, he runs that school. He's a sponsor of the show. Really appreciate that, by the way. So he's got, he's working on a website. He's going to get that rolling. But if you want to get a hold of him, you can do it through the Facebook. Also, the show is brought to you by the Tri-State Skywalkers. If you're in the Indiana or Kentucky or Ohio area, you can, if you're interested in starting a flying club or being involved in their flying club, you can reach out to Brandon McCloud, and there's a link in the description for that. If you're wanting to get involved in the sponsorship of the show, you can do that. There's a link on the website, and just reach out to me through that. It's under sponsorship, and we can get you set up with your name. And yeah. So let's talk about, before we do the giveaway, Jared's going to do a giveaway of a seed. It's all kinds of different vegetables. So if you're in the chat, and you haven't said anything yet, and you want to be involved in the spinny wheel, now's your chance. Yeah, he's holding up the, let me see if I can pin that. There we go. So that seed little packet is, yeah, it comes with 2 sets, all kinds of vegetables and all kinds of good stuff. I'll let him talk about that in a minute. But we're going to give one of those away. Value is like $40. And it's a super cool thing. He actually sent me one. We're stoked. My wife's really excited about that. And we're going to have a garden. So 2 questions did come up. Resurgence PPG, that's the one I wanted to get to. He said, can Ron speak to who his favorite paramotor personality is?
And who asked that question?
That was Resurgence PPG. That's Todd Scandrett.
I know Todd very well. Yeah. Todd's great.
There's a lot of trolls in the chat.
There are. You know, it's really hard picking my absolute favorite personality because so many of them have such big personalities. I'll just leave it right there.
There you go.
Yeah. That's the safe pass.
Yep. Absolutely is.
Well played.
Good answer. Well played, Teach.
Well played. Yeah, that's right. He wasn't a teacher for nothing. I was going to mention something about, I'm just going to knock these questions out right now. By the way, I really appreciate Mark Honeycutt. Mark Honeycutt is going to be postponing coming home for an extra time. He's going to be extended on his little vacation, but he will be home soon. And he was watching earlier. I don't know if he's still watching, but thanks, man. Thanks for your service. And I'm going to pray you get home quick, man. The question from Fly Swamper, he was talking about motors, and I kind of want to segue into questions and talk about different maintenance things.
Yeah.
For now, being a dealer, you're going to have guys that are going to be reaching out to you after they buy something from you. What's the easiest transaction company? For example, I've heard some horror stories about people that bought, I'm not going to name any names. They bought this particular type of motor, and something broke, and it took them 2 or 6 weeks to get the parts, and it had to come from, the middle of nowhere, Russia. What is your go-to and why? And maybe talk about that. I know you're a dealer, so I know you're going to have to be politically correct, but this is your personal opinion about what you like.
Yeah. And we've had great experience with Parajets in terms of any warranty issues with them. Didn't have such great experiences with Air Conception early on. Particularly, they just didn't warranty a lot of things that I feel they should have warranted. But they've actually gotten quite a bit better now as well. So, but you're right. As a dealer, we're the first line of defense for customers who buy equipment. So, part of our training, ground school, we do a motor maintenance class. So we're teaching guys how to how to take care of their machines. And we're going to be offering an advanced motor maintenance class once this whole thing blows over, where existing pilots will bring their own motors in, and we're going to teach them how to break them down and clean them up and do anything they need to do to them.
Excellent. That is the first time I've heard of a motor class, so that's pretty cool. I'm
Yeah,
interested in that.
Yeah, we do. We do 10 to 15 hours of ground school in our 10-day class, and each ground school class may be an hour to 2 hours long, and there are PowerPoint presentations and videos and things like that. And one of them is on motor maintenance, the basic motor maintenance. But you've got a motor for a year and a half, and now you want to replace all your fuel lines, and you may want to do other things to it. So we're going to have a class where you bring your motor, and we just guide you through opening it up and cleaning it up and getting it back to specs.
I needed that class actually because I got a weed whacker that just gave me fits, man.
Yeah.
Jim, CR120, he has a loaded question. And I'll just ask it. He said, question for Ron. Many empathetically warn that self-training is risky and should be avoided. Is there any paramotor gear out there that should be avoided?
Wow. Okay. First of all, I know a good friend of mine who tried to train himself, and he's not around anymore. So I would definitely suggest getting good training. Gear to avoid. I'm not going to say there's gear to avoid, but when you buy gear, particularly motors, you're going to want to talk to a dealer if you have any issues with anything, warranty issues or not. So I would caution against maybe where you buy or who you buy from rather than what you buy. Because as I said, most of the motors today, you've got a Moster 185 on just about every manufacturer's, every paramotor manufacturer has that, or an Atom 80 on the back of their motor. So it's not really the motor per se. It's once you have an issue with the motor, now who do you go back to get it fixed?
Very well put. He wasn't going to throw any gear under the bus.
No.
Knew that was coming.
No, I wasn't.
Right.
And there's no perfect gear for everyone. There's things I love about the motors I fly, things I don't love so much about them, and things I love about other motors that we don't sell and we don't fly. So, it's it's not one size fits all.
That's right. Green Boys Paramotor Pawnbroker Pilots, thank you for your contribution in the super chat of $12.81. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Also, Jim, CR120 in the super chat. He said, for the best, I want to congratulate everyone that's here tonight. You're a part of the best paragliding show on the web on Thursdays at this time.
Wow, that's high praise.
You know what I mean? That is up there.
Oh, yeah.
Linda Anderson, my mom, she just donated $50. It's probably going straight to the grandkids, but thank you, Mom. I appreciate that. Paramotor Crazy, could you please ask Ron if he would consider doing some of these motor classes online, perhaps through Zoom, either as a group class or one-on-one? And actually, Paramotor Crazy stole that question out of my brain.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he does that every once in a while. He's like that.
I know him too. He is that way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
He'll creep into your brain if you're not careful.
Yep, rent free.
Yeah, rent free. That's an interesting idea. I'll consider doing that. Yeah. We're in a weird time now where people don't want to be out in public or can't be out in public, and others are just dying to get out and continue training. So, I'll consider doing something online. Hopefully all this craziness will be over by the time I can figure that out.
Dear goodness, this needs to get over soon.
Yeah.
Green Boys Paramotor Pawn, they just broke the record on the giving, $50.28. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's out of control, actually. Awesome. Well, we want to give something away.
Yes, we do.
Jared, Jared is I started following him on Instagram. And by the way, you can follow the show on Instagram, Paragliding Talk. I post some random things on there. Sometimes it's not video worthy to put a whole video together. So I'll just put little things, snippets of what's going on in my flying. I see your question, Paul Elwood. I will ask that question in just a second. So he put together this seed. What are you calling it, Jared?
I don't know, it's just a bunch of seeds that it's like a starter pack pretty much. And
Starter pack.
Yeah,
Boom.
the seed starter pack.
Seed
I have a bunch of
starter
extra
pack.
seeds, and I just decided to make a bunch of them, sell them, and then give them away to anyone who needs them.
Yes. Oh yeah, JP Tool wanted me to tell you, Ron, that the cell phone leash saved his phone and prop the other day. Big thanks. That's what JP said.
Oh, very cool.
JP, he'll come on the after show so you can talk to him face to face right after we're done going live. By the way, if you wanted to join the after show and you wanted to talk to Ron face to face, you can do that if you're a Patreon or a PayPal supporter of the show. So check out those links if you're interested in jumping on afterwards. You know what I mean? You know, I'm just railing them in tonight. You know what I mean? Okay, let's spin the wheel, Sean. I'm gonna get my seeds. I want to show that I got my seeds. Hold on.
Let us spin the wheel. Now, from this point on, no more names are going in the wheel from this point on. So
no more names.
If you're late, you're late.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Just blew out everyone's eardrums.
Yeah.
Got my seeds here. Look at
Yummy,
that.
yummy. You don't have to go to the store for a month. You can grow those bad boys. You have a full belly.
I just gotta figure out how I'm gonna do it. I gotta. Here
we go. Backyard. Look at all these names, y'all. Look at all that. Boom. All right.
Oh my gosh, how many people are watching right now?
A ton.
Sorry, Sean.
Are you ready?
I'm gonna give you 2 rolls of toilet paper, Sean.
Whoa! All right. Yep. We're spinning. Here we go. Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, go click it.
Let's see here.
Ronnie Mac. Oh, wait. Yep.
Ronnie Mac PPG.
Ronnie Mac PPG. Congratulations. Winner, chicken dinner. Now you got a bag of seeds and some honeydews.
Oh, yeah.
Mama's going to make you grow her a garden.
Nice.
Yeah, you're in. You are in like Flynn. Okay, let me write that down. Ronnie Mac. Okay, Ronnie Mac, send me an email. Go to the paraglidingtalk.com website and fill out the form, the contact form with your information and say that you won the seed starter pack. And I'm going to forward that on to you right away. Congratulations, winner, chicken dinner.
Ron was wondering why I sit in this room. Now he understands.
Now he knows. Congratulations. Ronnie Mac's a fun one to follow on Instagram, too. He's got all kinds of good stuff. Okay. Chicken dinner would be good. You are right, Mike Brennan. Another champion of people, Mike Brennan. Okay. Let's move on to some. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. What do you think about the flat top?
What do I think about the flat top? I've seen them up close and personal. Last time I was down on Corpus Christi, down there flying. Dell set up right next to us and had his class there with all of his students and his flat tops.
Super students.
Yeah, super.
Sorry.
But they, a friend of mine had one at one point. I thought it was an old and outdated style. But, one of the things I really like about it is the netting. One of my pet peeves is the netting gap between the frame and the net. And I really appreciate the thought that's gone into the netting so that gap doesn't exist. I also like the way you release the belt just with one pull. So there are a couple of things, like I said, that I like about all kinds of motors, even if I don't agree with the training techniques that the instructors use.
Yeah, I think it's great. I want to try one personally.
Yeah, I tried one once. Not
Did
not
you?
not a
Was it
huge
heavy?
fan. It was heavy. To me, the more uncomfortable thing was it hung down very low and was hitting the back of my calves as I was running. So,
Oh, that's scary.
yeah, as I said, no, it takes a different technique to launch. It takes much smaller steps.
Oh,
But
that's another thing about paramotoring. You have to run with
well, yeah, unless you got wheels beneath you, and
Yeah,
if you stay
that's
in
true.
the sport long enough, you'll probably have wheels beneath you. You know,
Appreciate the wheels.
yeah, at 57, my landing gear isn't getting any younger.
Yeah.
Right. And if there's no wind and I get out there, I've got a 19-meter free ride. I'm going to be running my ass off. I'd rather just hop on a trike and fly.
Yeah, are you doing that regularly now? Flying
Oh
the
yeah.
trike?
Oh yeah, yeah.
No kidding.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a Fly Products Flash Cruiser that we give tandem rides on, and we also have a Power to Fly Calibri trike that we use for solo flying. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of trike flying lately.
I got a
It's a lot of
question for you.
fun.
Can people just show up to your school and say, I'm not interested in being a pilot, but I do want to fly? Can they just kick you down some funds and go fly?
Oh yeah, yeah. We give
on a tandem. Yeah, Discovery.
Yeah, we give it discovery flights. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. But
Excellent.
yeah, the triking thing is it's a lot of fun. Particularly if we're going on long cross countries, it's nice to fill the tank up and not worry about the extra weight. So
that is excelente. Well, Paul Elwood asked about reserves. Do you fly with reserves, and do you recommend guys fly with reserves?
Yeah. So for me and for Lone Star Paramotor, safety is number one, and we don't allow students to fly without reserve chutes. We don't allow them to fly without power floats as well. So
nice.
yeah, and the power floats both for going over water, but the floats also close up that gap in between the netting and the paramotor frame if you hook up the Velcro correctly. So I'm a big proponent of reserve chutes. We teach guys how to throw them when they're in the simulator. In fact, on students' first flights, we have them simulate a reserve throw. On their first flight, on their first flights, they're flying hands off with weight shift turns only. On their first flights, they're trimming all the way in, trimming all the way out. They're also practicing reserve throws on their very first flights.
That is excellent. I like that.
Yeah, and it's something that we encourage them to continue to practice, to do simulated reserve throws every few flights.
Let's talk a little bit about your adventure flying. How much cross country stuff have you done? What do you think about it? And what do you think about sport flying, competition type stuff?
Yeah, I haven't done any sport or competition flying, but I love going on cross countries. We're located at Kitty Hawk Airport, which is a little private ultralight air park just north of San Antonio. And there's some great places to go cross country flying around here. From here, we can go fly around Canyon Lake. We've got several students who are in the area too, so we can fly to their farms and ranches and land there and refuel, eat, and fly back too. So really enjoy getting a group of guys together, planning our route out, and doing some cross-country flying.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, yeah.
I do like that. There's a couple questions since we got into the topic of reserves. And I apologize for being all over the place, but these are questions that I actually wanted answers for. What do you prefer on your choice? Is it a round, square? You flying Beamer for reserve? And what's your thoughts on those?
Yeah, Angel Square is the one that we typically go to. We're also dealers for APCO, so we sell a fair amount of APCO ones as well. I've only had one student who's purchased a steerable reserve, and it's awful cool looking, but it's incredibly heavy too. I think it comes in around 6 pounds, something like that.
Interesting.
So,
that's the Beamer.
Don't know that it was the Beamer, but something like it.
Okay.
But yeah, so at 6 pounds, you don't really want to mount that on a side pocket because it's going to throw off your torque. So
Right.
you're going to have that on a lap mount, and 6 pounds is a lot on your lap while you're flying.
Yeah, and your free flight guys are going to stray away from 6 more pounds.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
So that's the one that we use. We use the Angel Square, and we use the smaller one on the Atom 80 motors that we train with, and we use the larger size on the 185s, and then we've got an even larger size that we use on the trikes, and the tandem trike as well.
Very well. Very well. So we talked a little bit about the adventure. Have you had any personal scary moments, things that maybe where you were out of control, and what did you learn from those experiences?
Scary moments. I've had lots and lots of engine outs. So that's something that I had a bunch of early on, actually, and got used to just landing whenever the motor quit. Did have a rather scary landing. I love flying low over riverbeds. And what I'll do, I know that power lines cross rivers, so I'll go fly over the river for a mile or two, notice there aren't any power lines, and I'll drop down lower and fly down by the water. But in one case, I was flying down low and motor quit, and I was down too low to get up and over the trees. So the only options I had was to land in the water, going with the wind, or land downwind in a boulder-strewn riverbed. So that was a little scary coming in because I knew that one was going to hurt a bit.
Eesh.
But yeah. But nothing really has scared me too much. I'm not a guy that does a lot of acro, but I've taken 50-60% collapses on the wing, and it's really not a big issue. So nothing's really scared me that much. I've hurt myself pretty badly early on. I was just kiting, had a brand new wing, and it was way too windy and gusty to be kiting, but I tried it anyway and got dragged across the field, slammed into some boulders, and dragged through a gravel parking lot. So that was a little scary as it was going on. But again, that's everything in the sport is pilot error, and that was my fault for going out and kiting in conditions that were just too gusty.
Yep. What's your experience with SIV, and what do you think about sending people to SIVs?
Yeah, I think SIVs are a great idea. In fact, there's one that happens quarterly down by us. Kyle Matula at Power to Fly offers an SIV course every quarter down in Corpus Christi. So I went down to the last one to watch the goings on and plan to participate in the future. But I think it's a great idea. I'd like to see students get a little time under their belt after class before they go for their first one. But I think it's a wonderful idea.
You mentioned earlier that you've had 60% collapses and it's a non-event. What are you flying? What's your wing of choice?
Yeah.
And what are you putting your students up on?
So I'm flying a 19-meter free ride. That's my go-to wing. and really like the handling. So that's what I fly. We used to start students out on basic A-wings, something like Mojo Power. And we no longer do that. About a year and a half ago or so, maybe about a year ago, we decided to start training students on B-wings. So we train them on ozone spiders, ozone roadsters, wings like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it. And when a student comes to you, let me just bring this up. They've already maybe got some training. They tried the self-teaching thing and maybe had a close call and decided, you know, it's dangerous, or the wife found out and she's mad.
Yeah.
And so she's forcing them to go get training. What advice do you have for those guys that are trying to self-teach? And do you take those guys in?
Yeah, my advice is don't self-teach. The money that you think you're going to be saving by not paying an instructor, you're going to pay for in either broken equipment or in hospital bills. Not to mention the time that it's going to take to recover if you do get injured. So, my advice is don't self-train. Find an instructor that your style and their style matches, and go for there. And yes, I do an awful lot of retraining. We have a 3-day confidence builder course that we now offer. And we've trained several people already this year. So these are guys who got training from other instructors, maybe only got a flight or two in, or maybe it's been months and months since they've flown and they just don't feel confident. So they'll come back for a 3-day refresher course. And those guys are all over the place. Some of them have had, I started one guy the other day, didn't know how to reverse kite. So spent a lot of time with him reverse kiting. That's something he's going to need for flying. So, we train an awful lot of guys who have had, let's call it less than complete training.
Got it. So if somebody comes to your school and they don't feel that confidence that they need, they can come back to you. And are you charging the same amount and it's starting over, or how does that work? Do you give them some kind of a discount because they already came to you?
Yeah, we haven't had anyone who's come back who's wanted additional training for a confidence builder class. We have had guys who have been through our class, they're foot launchers, and now they want to transition over and fly trikes and learn how to do that.
Oh, nice.
Right. So we haven't really had to retrain anyone, but we have a little over half of our students are from out of state. The other guys are what I call local, which is San Antonio, Austin, Houston area. And they'll typically hang around and show up and fly. And if we're more than welcome to get on comms with them and talk them up and talk them down if there's, if they've been out of the air for a while. But yeah, we don't charge them again for the course. That's my responsibility for making sure they learn it the first time around.
That's great. That's a great answer. They spend a week with you.
Yeah, usually it's a week to 10 days. Right now, lately it's about 9 days, and it's, as you know, very weather dependent. But the first couple of days we're out on the field kiting. If not, we're in the hanging from a simulator, practicing first flights. On the third day, about the third day, we're towing, and then we're flying typically on about the fourth day of class. And mixed in there is a bunch of ground school in between, typically when weather doesn't allow us to be out on the field flying or training.
I know the question is kind of expired, but when guys are buying gear online, do you have any direction? Because there's going to be people that are just they're gonna just go and Craigslist or eBay or whatever. They're gonna do it. What advice do you have for the guy that's trying to find the best deal and buying gear?
Yeah, and I get a lot of calls from people who just want information. they're just getting into it, and they want to know about equipment and what equipment do I need to buy. I typically recommend that they go and visit an instructor, visit a flight school, and check out the equipment that they have, maybe even try on some motors. But if they're looking to save money, we usually recommend that they buy a new wing. Your wing is really your aircraft. It's what's flying you. And the motor gives you a climb rate, and hopefully runs most of the time you're sitting in it. So if someone's looking to save money and they want to buy stuff up front, we recommend that they buy a new wing. If we don't, they'll buy a wing that's 5 years old and have old technology, and it'll just be a frustrating experience for them.
Very good. Last couple questions. We're almost to the 1 hour mark. That went by fast.
It did.
1 hour, man. Let's talk about fly-in etiquette. And because you're such a great role model in the sport, I think it's fitting to ask your opinion on this. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be flying related to the fly-in, but maybe talk about something that we don't ever and have never talked about is fly-in etiquette. And
okay.
I want to bring this up to you, and I'm going to bring this up in a couple other shows too. Anything that you want to bring to the table and things that you can say now that you probably couldn't say when everybody's in their drunken stupor or in their fun having time.
Fly-ins are great, and it's a great opportunity, particularly for newer pilots. And if you're a new pilot, let's first talk about great opportunities for new pilots at fly-ins, and then maybe I can touch on the etiquette. But if you're a new pilot, you go to a fly-in, just about everyone there's got more experience than you do, and there's so much you can learn. When it's not flyable, you should be looking at who's out there kiting. Usually there are some top-notch kiters, and when the wind is blowing and blowing too hard to fly, they're out there kiting. And you can learn an awful lot just by watching some other guys doing their thing. But you can also go around and ask to borrow wings, try out different equipment. Even if it's not flying, just, ground handling, things like that. So there's just a wealth of knowledge at fly-ins and a great opportunity to take advantage of it. Etiquette-wise, lots of people in fly-ins that I see will take off right towards crowds of people and fly over the top of them. And that's something that, we typically don't do. Lots of guys at fly-ins will take off and just loiter around the LZ. They're down low, they're turning hard, they're turning fast, and they think they're showing off, but no one's really impressed. So good etiquette at a fly-in is take off and get out of there. Go where you need to go where you want to go, but leave the LZ open to guys taking off and landing. It's not where you should be showing off, particularly down low.
I went to my first motor fly-in this season. We went to the Salton Sea fly-in, and I think that is exactly the best thing that you need to do. I was thinking of it like this. This is a runway. Some fly-ins are actually at an airport, but we were on the side of the body of water. It's an airport. What airplanes fly around and do acro in front of the airport? No one does that. You go somewhere else. And that was very good. I thought that same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is there's always downtime at fly-ins. So usually people are, you probably saw a fair amount of trike racing on the ground and one-wheeled antics and all of that as well. So
I didn't see anybody doing that, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
No. I think more people get injured by one wheels at paramotor fly-ins than actually flying.
Yeah, I've said that before. I didn't know that was actually true.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is or not, but it sounds like it.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. We did have some pretty cool stuff happen at that fly-in. If you can make it out to the Salton Sea fly-in, That's a cool one, man.
That's one that I've never been to. Love to go to that one. Love also to go to the Flying Circus as well.
Circus. Yeah.
That's one I want to hit up as well.
I feel like that's the most American fly-in that you can go to in the country is the Flying Circus. Guns, tannerite. Guy had a flamethrower. I don't even think that's legal in anywhere else except for Arizona. What else? I mean, fireworks. You've got giant bonfire. They build all these lighted display type thing. It's just amazing. Yeah. I haven't gone to that either. I was supposed to go. We had something come up this last year, so we weren't able to go. But I'm going to go next year for sure. Yeah, to both Flying Circus and I just got to get a motor, and then I've got plenty of time. We'll make it happen.
Okay.
We're down to that 3-minute mark. Was there any questions that I missed, guys? I know Jim CR120 had a question about arranging.
I got one here from Jim if you want.
Yeah, let it rip.
Question for Ron from Jim CR120. You want to arrange some fly-in with friends. How many people do you invite, and what elements make a group fly satisfying?
A fly-in with friends. Okay. Fly-ins tend to have a lifespan. Beach Blast happened for a few years. It stopped for a couple of years, started again, and it now stopped. And I think there are a bunch of fly-ins down in Florida that are the same way. I think once it gets large, it gets a little unwieldy, and you've got insurance issues as well. So when I fly with friends, it's maybe half a dozen guys meeting up to fly somewhere around a local airport, or to go on a cross country, maybe a 10 or a 15-mile cross country. But when you get more than a dozen guys, then it tends to get unwieldy.
Great question.
Hope that answers it for Jim CR120.
Was there any other? There was a couple of people asked, have you ever had to throw a reserve? And I think you already answered that on the last show.
I have not had to throw a reserve. No, I haven't. One of my instructors did when we were down in Florida. In fact, that's the one that I repacked and sent out to Anthony Vella, because I know that it worked at least once.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. One that's already been thrown. We know that one works. Here you go.
Yes, exactly right. It worked at least once, but no, I haven't personally had to throw a reserve yet.
I like that you do some training. We were talking I don't know if we were talking on an after show or on a live show, but we were talking about inventing some kind of a deployment mechanism, like a spring or something like that. And I thought that would be interesting. Here's a question from Fly Swamper, and he asked this earlier. Thanks for reminding me. I almost forgot to ask this. Changing bolts, holding swing arm on. So when is it time to change the bolts that hold your swing arm?
The Jesus bolts.
Yep.
The bolts that hold the swing arms on. The main thing with the swing arms is a couple of things. First of all, you want to make sure that they'll go up and down on their own. They're not, if you lift them up, they're not going to be caught in that position. But more importantly, it's how much wiggle room you have going to the sides. So if you've got any play at all wiggling left and right, that's when you need to tighten up those bolts. But that's it should be part of every pre-flight check, is to check those bolts, because it's such an important safety factor.
Very good. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and we're going to go to the after show. Bob Bilthrack, thank you for your $10 and $4 contribution in the super chat. You are awesome, man. And I always enjoy Bob coming on. He'll come on the after show a lot of times. We're going to go to the after show. If you want to join the after show, put your email in the description. If you are a Patreon supporter or a PayPal supporter of the show, you can join us on the after show. Send me your email and I will send that over. Thank you so much. Also,
We have,
Yeah, go ahead.
pardon me.
Yeah.
Resurgence PPG wants to know if the
Oh.
wheel is still available and if Sean might spin it for the shirt that Ron is wearing.
Todd wants to
Nice.
know that. Todd wants to take back the one shirt he gave me.
It may not be that exact one, but it will be a Resurgence PPG shirt.
No, he said that exact one.
You know, I could spin the wheel because I still got everybody's name in there. And I did add extra names just in case if that were to come up. Just saying. This is Robert's show. I'm just a moderator here. So I'm I got to earn my rice.
If you would, it would please the Resurgence lords.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to donate the shirt that I had to beg Todd for 2 years to send me.
So we're good for a roll?
Good for a roll.
All right. From this moment on, there's no more names in the wheel because the wheel is full.
All right, Ronnie Mac won the seeds.
All righty, here we go.
Who's going to win the shirt?
Who's going to win this shirt? I'm excited to see who's going to win this shirt, too. Here we go. All right, we've got everybody's name in here that's been in there.
That's right. By the way, this show is brought to you by flytory.com. Flytory.com. Torrey Pines Glider Port, one of the best places to learn how to free fly. Go check out their website at flytory.com.
Here we go. It's rolling now.
Yeah, it's spinning.
Yeah.
I feel it, man. It's going to land on me. I want it. Oh, John Adams. Are you kidding me?
John Adams.
He is a winner again.
Congratulations, John Adams.
Congratulations.
Don't worry. He's too big for that one, Ron. You got saved.
Maybe he could use it as a mask.
There you go.
He's gonna have this one.
Chop it
I like
up.
that one better.
Yeah, there you go. Coming soon. You just
Very cool.
All you guys just got a teaser of something that's coming very soon of the giveaways.
That is awesome.
Yeah, Craig Taylor has a pretty awesome thing going over there. Wicked Wings logos. I don't even know if he wants me to tell anyone, but anyways, if you want to get a hold of Craig Taylor for, he's got some pretty cool stuff. He can make a sticker for your wing, literally. He made one for me with the paragliding talk. I think he's made it for a couple other people. You know what I do want? I want a PPG smoke sticker for my wing. I think that'd be cool. If you can,
I've got one here.
If you've got one, that would be amazing. I will slap that bad boy on there. We talked about this. I love his gun collection, by the way. One guy that you don't want to mess with, Craig Taylor. Dear goodness, he's ready for battle. You've already got them made? I thought you were going to show me like a proof.
Well,
those are already ready. Nice. What?
If Sean wants to spin that, maybe the winner will send the other one to you, Robert.
Well, you know what? I could do that. I didn't close it. You want me to spin it?
That's Robert's call, or he can.
No. I want that one. I don't want a chance that somebody else is going to get that. And Ryan Roberts just chimed in right now on my phone. I'm going to send him an invite because he might have something that he wants to share with everybody. I know we're going over just a few minutes. But this is hot off the press type.
That's going to be an extra bowl of rice.
That's right. You're going to get some extra rice.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't know how to invite people now. Participants. There we go. Okay. Invite. Invite. There we go. Okay. I'm figuring this out on the fly here. RY. There we go. Boom. Sent. Very, very cool. So John Adams, congratulations. Winner, chicken dinner. I am going to ask you if you would send me over your information, and then I will get you in contact with either Ron or Todd Scandrett. I'm not sure who yet. I'm going to CC both of you guys on the email. John Adams, congratulations on winning that. Oh, I see why Ryan Roberts wants an invite. He's in the air right now. He's flying his paramotor right now, and he's over the water. He sent me a message that said, Zoom link now. Sent.
Where's he flying over?
He's flying right over the water where Torrey Pines is.
Trust or rust?
Yeah. Yep, he's out there right now. I bet you he's in the air. We'll see if he logs on. Well, we're going to go to the after show. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. We'll do it again soon. Let's set something up for something in the future. Maybe if you wanted to coordinate doing a motor lesson, and you can use the platform if you want, you're welcome. Let me know. We'll set something up. And thank you all. Really appreciate all you guys for being a part of the program. You guys are awesome. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for all the super chat donations, by the way. You guys are radical. Keep this show going. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Can you get me a beer?